Good morning, everyone. Jim Clark here at the Synchronicity Sanctuary in Central Virginia to share another contemplative focus with you today. And that focus I want to share with you today is this: everyone is a gift. What does that mean? Every person we meet brings something with them, an opportunity to grow, to understand yourself more clearly, or to choose how you want to live if it's a circumstance and not a person. Even difficult people or situations can become gifts when we see through the lens of awareness. And this is simply based on the truth that what I see in you is a reflection of myself. And that's the gift. Whenever we meet somebody or whenever we counter a situation, whether it's one that makes us uncomfortable or one that invites us to become attached in some way, those circumstances and those people are giving us a choice to go into ourselves and to create who we want to be in relation to that circumstance or that person, rather than simply reacting and out of the firm belief that we don't have any choice, that a person or a situation is whatever we see, even though it may be based on unconscious data within ourselves, which it most often is. And as I recall, when we were practicing this focus, this contemplation here, it became quite clear to me how most of my life, if not all of it until I got here, was dictated by just that. I would react to situations, I react to people according to how I interpreted who they were, what their intention was, whether it was pleasant or unpleasant, and on and on and on. So it's really a question of awareness, as we stated here in the description, to see through awareness, or the choice of becoming more aware would be another way to put it, and taking it upon ourselves to create ourselves consciously in relation to a person or a situation. I remember very clearly when I first came here to the sanctuary and interacting with people that I would not normally ever have been with, and finding myself responding to them in ways that made me question my own judgment. And then with this contemplation, I began to see how there were just certain personalities and certain situations that I was never comfortable with in my own lifetime. And being confronted with those in this context, where I could become more aware of the mechanics of how I was acting in relation to that person or to that situation, I gradually became empowered to recreate myself with those people or circumstances or situations, and began to discover that it was possible. In fact, it was even often more pleasurable to take that step and to question myself, not the person or the situation, but rather to look into myself to see if there was resentment, or if there was a dislike being pointed at a person I was interacting with. What was behind that, and where did it come from? Why was I choosing that? Because the idea of that we are choosing how to respond to a certain person or situation is not something that we're ever taught. Most people in this world go through life totally unconscious as to the source of their reactions or responses to circumstances or other people. And they just take it upon themselves to try to sort through all the people in their lives, to accept those that they like and to avoid those that they don't. And that's kind of the way most people live their lives. I did, until I realized that I had a choice. And having a choice, exercising it became easier as I practiced it, and realized that, you know, we all have our triggers, we all have our discomforts, and our unconscious reactions to those bits of data that we carry within us, the history and the programming that we picked up along our way as we lived our lives. And so it became an exercise to question myself every day with every person that I was living with. And it became quite a learning process. Not always so easy to do, but in many ways, it was one of the most valuable contemplations I think we ever had here. Because what it did is it showed me that I am creating my response. I'm creating who I am going to be in relation to you, in relation to the people I live with, in relation to the situations, even this one sitting here giving this live stream. I create myself accordingly, but more consciously. And there's no need to be anything other than who I am to do that. I don't have to put on something, some persona or some characterization in order to accomplish that. That's really the bottom line that I have learned from all this. Just be yourself, but be yourself genuinely, and give your honest response to a person or a situation. And if a situation is beyond your ability to cope with, say you encounter an accident and somebody's dying, and if you don't have the knowledge to help that person, then don't try to be what you're not, because you might do more harm than good. Yeah? So anyway, as I went through this contemplation with more and more people, I find that even when I was, say, in Charlottesville doing shopping or whatever, just even checking out, the mind will always be running a story, no matter who you're with or what circumstance you're in. And yet, what's the point? Why are you doing that? And where does that come from? You find this person pleasant and that not, just based on some past experience that you can't even remember. And this is basically what I discovered was, yeah, a lot of times I was. Just the way a person looked could remind me unconsciously of someone that I didn't get along with in my past. And so I would have that gut reaction to them that they were going to be difficult, or they weren't somebody I really wanted to deal with, no matter how they were acting. And so as I went through these contemplations, and this one in particular, I became more and more aware of who I was creating myself as and why. And as I became more aware of this, then I had more control over that. And then I could see, well, this is just another story I'm running, and I'm running it to myself, from myself. And so for the sake of myself, I can choose something else. I can be conscious and be more welcoming, more loving, more understanding towards difficult people or circumstances, because that's how I could choose to be. I don't have to be limited to my unconscious data that I picked up in my upbringing or in my life prior to a lifestyle of meditation and self-awareness growth. And that became, first of all, it's always a challenge in the beginning, and there's always some people that will challenge you, but that's the gift that they give you, and you can rise to that if you practice it, and then you realize that and exercise the choice that you have within you to be whoever you need to be, and no matter what's going on, and not to question, is it right, is it wrong, am I doing this, am I perfect, is that person going to accept this or not, because they have the same choice as you do, even though they may not be aware of it. As most people we encounter aren't aware of it because they're not meditators. But knowing this, we can also adjust our choices accordingly and be as comforting and understanding as we can possibly be towards someone who has taken offense at something about us or questions us in some way that we might think is negative because they're expressing their own negativity. And so this is basically what this contemplation is all about. Whenever you meet anyone, what you're meeting is yourself, a mirror. And in that mirror, you can be whoever you choose to be. And so you can grow a world that's more loving and compassionate, or you can grow a world that's suspicious and fearful through that mirror. And that's basically the choice that we have with most encounters of people, even though they may be mundane in the moment. If we are sincere in our choices, it will have an impact, a positive impact, and people will take that with them, no matter what they were creating in the moment. So this is one way we can contribute our own evolution to the world. We can contribute the choice of being loving and compassionate as opposed to the unconscious choice of that is fear-based, where we are suspicious all the time, where we are disempowered to make a choice. When there is no choice, we are who we think we are, and that's that. And whatever doesn't agree with that, there's conflict. So, which is not really the case. I mean, there's a lot of things in the world that I will not choose to participate in, and there's a lot of personalities that I would never choose to be, and I don't have to. It's not a question of giving up who you are. It's a choice of how you're going to express yourself consciously and with everyone and with every circumstance. So it's not out of fear, it's out of becoming more aware of your own empowerment to be who you truly are. And who are we truly anyway, but consciousness itself. The same consciousness that created the person you're confronting or the circumstance that you're involved with created you, because you are that consciousness that created everything. And ultimately, that is the truth that we're tapping into with such contemplations as this. And in the recognition of that, it may be easier for you to practice some of this once in a while and try it out for yourself. And if a person is not receptive, so be it. There's nothing you can do about it. The best thing you can do is move on and be open to the possibility that at some point, if you meet this person again, or if they are involved in your life some way, that eventually your response to them will help them to grow into a more loving response to you or the circumstances that you're sharing with them. So that's basically what this contemplation is all about. Is everyone is a gift. They're not a challenge. They're a gift because they're putting you at choice just by being with you. No matter what the circumstances are, you're at choice is how you respond to and act in relation to them and who you are creating yourself in that context. If you're creating someone that's compassionate and loving and helpful, then that will help their experience to be the same, a reflection of that. And in that, they may go beyond their own fears and all of a sudden find themselves very relaxed and they might find themselves less fearful. So that's what I wanted to share with you today. Everyone is a gift, including you. And what that means is we are at choice to be whoever we choose to be in any moment, in any situation. So with that, I bid you adieu until next Monday, when I'll have another live stream broadcast. In between our programming here, I will stay on schedule on my Monday morning live streams here and continue to do them as I can. So until then, until next Monday, I bid you adieu, and I hope you enjoyed what you got out of this today, and I look forward to being with you again. So until then, be loving and choose love. Our teacher, Master Charles, always taught us, no matter what the problem, love is the answer.